Hello, future engineers, subscribers, viewers, and students. There is a lecture video in analytic geometry, and here I'm going to discuss about species of a conic. The I'm going to discuss the circle, although a circle is not a conic, it is the limiting figure of an ellipse as the eccentricity approaches zero. Then I'll discuss about conics, which will begin with parabola, ellipse, then hyperbola. So first, let's have species of a conic. The general equation of a conic is a second degree equation, and it is defined by ax squared plus bxy plus cy squared plus dx plus ey plus f equals 0. So that's the general equation of a conic. And there is an xy term because the conic, the axis of the conic may be inclined. And the discriminant of the conic is defined by b squared minus 4ac, just like the discriminant of a quadratic equation. So to generalize, we have here a conic, then its eccentricity, then the discriminant. For an ellipse, the eccentricity is less than 1, and therefore the discriminant is less than 0. Eccentricity is compared to 1, discriminant compared to 0. So the discriminant of an ellipse is negative. Parabola, the eccentricity is exactly equal to 1, and therefore the discriminant b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0. And finally, for a hyperbola, the eccentricity is greater than 1, and so the discriminant is greater than 0. So I'll discuss circle first. A circle is the locus of a point which moves so that its distance from a fixed point known the center is constant, and that constant distance is called the radius of the circle. So the reduced general equation of a conic with b equals 0 is, so if we set b equals 0, so we'll make the axis of the conic parallel to the coordinate axis x and y. Then it reduces to ax squared plus cy squared plus dx plus ey plus f equals 0. Now, for this conic, as mentioned, the axis would be parallel to the coordinate axis. So for this conic here, the axis would be parallel to the coordinate axis. Then for a circle, so let's have the graph of a circle, and the fixed point is at c comma k as shown in the figure, and we have the moving point which is at x comma y, and the constant distance is of course the radius of the circle. So all you have to do is apply distance formula, or we draw this right triangle and apply Pythagoras theorem. That is x minus h quantity square plus y minus k quantity square. So the square of the horizontal distance plus the square of the vertical distance, that's Pythagoras theorem, equals hypotenuse square, which is r square. So that is the standard equation. This is the standard equation of a circle with center at h comma k, and don't forget the radius is r. When the center is at the origin, all you have to do is set h and k zeros. So x squared plus y squared equals r squared for a circle with center at the origin. So going back to this general form, general standard, or this is the standard form of a circle, by expanding. So let's expand this equation here. So we have x squared minus 2hx plus h squared plus y squared minus 2ky plus k squared equals r squared. And let's group the constants. So we have x squared plus y squared minus 2hx minus 2ky plus quantity h squared plus k squared minus r squared equals 0. So we say that from here, and comparing to the general reduced equation of a conic, we say that the coefficients of the second degree terms must be equal for it to be represented by a circle. So that is A is equal to C. And so after we compare, and negative 2h, this coefficient of x here should be equal to capital D. Negative 2k should be equal to E. And the constant f represents quantity h squared plus k squared minus r squared. Because for a circle, a coefficient of x squared should be equal to c, the coefficient of y squared, dividing through by a from the reduced general equation of a conic with coordinate axis parallel to the, or with the axis of the conic parallel to the coordinate axis. So after we divide by a, take note a equals c, that reduces to x squared plus y squared. We will just denote capital D over capital A as small d, capital E divided by capital A as small e, and capital F divided by A as small f. So it reduces to x squared plus y squared plus small d times x plus small e times y plus f equals 0. So this is the reduced general form of equation of a circle with d equals negative 2h and e equals negative 2k and small f equal to h squared plus k squared minus r squared. So from this equation, r squared equals h squared plus k squared minus f. Then replacing h by negative d over 2, k by negative e over 2, then we'll have r squared equals negative d over 2 quantity square plus negative e over 2 quantity square minus f. Simplifying, r squared equals d squared over 4 plus e squared over 4 minus f. Then multiply everything by 4. So 4r squared equals d squared plus e squared minus 4f. And therefore, we say that because the square root of 4r squared is the diameter of the circle, so the diameter, which is equal to 2r, equals square root of d squared plus e squared minus 4f. So, by studying the reduced general equation of a circle, this means that three conditions must be given to determine the equation of the circle. So there must be three conditions so that we can determine the equation of the circle. So this would be the resulting equation. So that's it. So the diameter is, after we reduce the equation of general equation of a conic to equation of a circle, where a equals c, so x squared plus y squared plus small d times x plus small e times y plus f equals 0. The diameter, or 2 times r, is square root of, this is the square of the coefficient of x, Then this is the square of the coefficient of y, then minus 4 times the constant in this equation here. Then we define radical axis of a circle. The radical axis, capital R sub R A, capital R, capital A, of a circle is any one of the following cases. So it may be the common chord of two intersecting circles, or the line through the points of intersection between two intersecting circles. So as shown in this figure here, so we have two intersecting circles. The radical axis is simply this line through the points of intersection. And the second one, it is the common tangent between two circles. So if we have tangent circles, then it is just the common tangent between two circles. So you just assume that these circles are tangent. And the radical axis is the tangent common to this point of tangency. Then it is the perpendicular bisector of the net distance between two circles. So if two circles are not intersecting, then it is the perpendicular bisector of the net distance between two circles. So this is the net distance between these two circles. The perpendicular bisector of that is the radical axis. Now, to find the equation of the radical axis between two circles, all you have to do is eliminate the x squared and y squared terms, simplify it, and it should be an equation of a line, first degree line, remember? Ax plus dy plus constant equals 0, that's a line, and that represents the radical axis after we simplify it. So I'm now in a position to define conics or conic sections. So we define a conic as the locus of a point moving so that its distance from a fixed point called the focus is in a constant ratio, and that constant ratio is called eccentricity to its distance from a fixed line, and that fixed line is called the directrix. So to illustrate, so let us say this is the conic in general. So we have the conic in general, then we have the fixed point, which is called the focus, noted by F. We also have a fixed line called the directrix. Let's call that D. And the axis of the conic, which is perpendicular to the directrix through the conic and through the focus. So that's the axis of the conic. And the intersection between the axis of the conic and the conic itself is called the vertex of the conic. So the line perpendicular to the directrix and through the focus is called axis of the conic. The point of intersection between the axis of conic and the conic is called its vertex, as shown in the figure. So that's the vertex. And a line segment joining any 2 points on the conic and through the focus is called a chord. So that's a chord as shown in the figure. So we define it as a line segment joining any 2 points on the conic and through the focus. And when the chord is perpendicular to the axis of the conic, it is called the latus rectum as shown in this figure here. So It is the chord that is perpendicular to the axis of the conic. So the sections are called conics because they can be revealed by passing a plane through a cone, except for a circle that is the limiting shape of an ellipse with eccentricity approaching zero. So the following are the conic sections. So let's draw. So by the way, this is the latus rectum. So you may denote this with L and R, the latus rectum, LR. So these sections can be revealed by passing a section through a cone. So as shown in this illustration here, so we have the following conics. So first, as I said, it is not a conic section, a circle is not a conic section, but this can be revealed. That section can be revealed by passing a plane parallel to the base of the cone, which is circular also, as shown. So that's a circle. Then when the plane is crossing the slanted height of the cone, then an ellipse is revealed as shown in the figure. So we have an ellipse. A parabola is when the section cuts the diameter and parallel to the slanted height of the cone. So that's an ellipse. So like this one, this section is parallel to the slanted height and through the diameter of the cone. So a parabola is revealed. And finally, when the section is crossing these two cones here, parallel to the axis of the cone, then we have a hyperbola that is revealed, as shown in this section here. So those are the different sections. Remember that only ellipses, parabolas, and hyperbolas are considered conic sections. So the first conic that I'm going to present is a parabola, and I have here the parabola that is open upward, and we will just pattern the other equations of parabolas. It's easy to remember and pattern the other equations of parabolas. So remember that a parabola is one with eccentricity equal to 1. So that is the distance of the moving point with coordinates x, y to the fixed point, the focus, is equal to the distance of the same point x, y to the directrix. So this is the parabola, the focus of a moving point, so that its distance from a fixed point, which is the focus, is equal to its distance from a fixed line, which is called the directrix. So if this is the coordinate axis x and y, we want the vertex to pass through the origin, and so the focus should be here above with coordinates 0, p. So that's the parabola. The focus should be at 0, p. And the directrix should be p units below the x-axis, and it is parallel to the x-axis. The equation of the directrix, therefore, is y equals negative p. So that's why the one position of the moving point should be on the origin, so that its distance from the focus is p, its distance from the directrix is also p. And this may be the moving point at x, y, so that its distance from the focus, denoted by d sub f, is equal to its distance from the directrix, denoted by d sub d. And this d sub d here is simply, because this is y, so from that point to the x-axis, that's y. And from the x-axis to the directrix, that's p. So this is y plus p, which is distance d. While the distance f is square root of x minus 0 quantity square plus y minus p quantity square from distance formula. So starting with distance f equals distance d, that's perpendicular distance. So distance f is square root of quantity x minus 0 square plus y minus p quantity square, then distance dy plus p. Square both sides. So we have x square plus y square minus 2py plus p square equals y square plus 2py plus p square. So we can cancel like terms here in the left and the right side, y square, sample, and p square. We can also cancel p square. Then simplifying, the standard form of equation of a parabola with vertex at the origin and open upward, therefore, is x squared equals 2py plus 2py. So x squared equals 4py. Because we defined 4p rather as the length of the latus rectum when the moving point is here in particular, its distance from the focus should be equal to its distance from the directrix. Because this is p plus p, 2p, that should also be 2p. So therefore, half of the length of the latus rectum is 2p. Then we have by symmetry another 2p here. So that's why the length of the latus rectum is 4p in general. So this is the latus rectum, LR, with R at LR over 2. So this is half of the length of latus rectum, comma P. So this point has the same y coordinate as this, which is P. And because by symmetry, the distance from the axis to one end of the latus rectum is half of the latus rectum. So we substitute this coordinate LR over 2 comma P into this equation. So we have LR over 2 quantity square equals 4P times P. Therefore, LR square equals 16P square. And from there, length of latus rectum equals 4P. Plus minus 4P, but the latus rectum, because it is length, should be positive. So the length of the latus rectum is 4p. So this is interpreted as length of latus rectum. So that's why another way of writing the standard equation of this parabola with vertex at the origin and open upward is x squared equals latus rectum times y. So take note that the sign is positive because it is open upward. So to write the other parabolas, so let's have now the parabolas. For this parabola here, the one that we derive, if it is open upward, it is x squared equals 4py or x squared equals latus rectum times y. If it is open downward, then it is x squared equals negative 4py or negative LR times y. So the sign indicates that it is just open downward. And if it is open upward or downward, it should be the x that should be squared because there is positive x and there is negative x. So take note that the axis of symmetry is the y-axis. So for this parabola that is open downward, x squared equals negative 4py or negative LR times y. So I hope that you can remember that. You just make the parabola with vertex at the origin open upward as your guide. And from there, you can write the other standard forms of equations of parabolas. So for a parabola that is with vertex at the origin and is open to the right, this time it should be y that should be squared. So it is y squared equals 4p times x, or y squared equals latus rectum times x. And if it is open to the left, then it is y squared equals negative 4p times x, or y squared equals negative LR times x. So that's it. And I hope that you just familiar with this parabola open upward, x squared equals 4p times y, or x squared equals negative LR times y. And I hope that you can write the rest of the other parabolas. Now, for parabolas with vertex at h comma k, not necessarily at the origin, that's our next, those are the next parabolas that should be generalized for their standard equations. So for parabolas with vertex at h comma k, so if it is open upward and the vertex is at h comma k, then x is replaced by x minus h, originally x squared or x minus 0 quantity square. So x minus h quantity square equals 4p times y minus k, or x minus h quantity square equals latus rectum times y minus k. So that's the standard equation of a parabola. So this is based on the parabola with vertex at the origin that is open upward. Then this time we replace, it's better to familiar with this equation other than the one with vertex at the origin, because all you have to do, if the vertex is at the origin, we set h and k zeros. So it will go back to the standard equation of a parabola. So if it is open downward, the vertex is at h comma k, as shown in the figure, then all you have to do is make the right side negative. So x minus h quantity square equals negative 4p times quantity y minus k, or negative LR, length of latus rectum, y minus k. For a parabola that is open to the right with vertex at h comma k, the equation is, so it is y that is squared this time. So y minus k quantity square equals positive direction, so 4p times x minus h, or y minus k quantity square equals 4p times quantity x minus h, or latus rectum times x minus h. And for a parabola that is open to the left and with vertex at h comma k, so all you have to do is make the right side negative. So y minus k quantity square equals negative 4p times x minus h, or negative LR times x minus h. So that's it. Now we study or recognize the parabola from the general equation of a conic. So if you can recall, the general equation of a conic with axis parallel to the coordinate axis, so without xy term or without b, so it was ax squared plus cy squared plus dx plus ey plus f equals 0. And we recognize that for a parabola, only one second degree term is present. It is either x squared or y squared that is present. So both cannot exist at the same time. So one is set 0, the other is present, and vice versa. So therefore, that for a parabola, either a or c is 0. So when either a or c is 0, the product of AC should be 0, because it is either A or C is 0. So when AC is 0, it is a parabola. The standard equation can also be interpreted as, so the standard equation can also be interpreted as, so the x minus h, for example, that's the axis. So axis square is equal to length of latus rectum, then y minus k is interpreted as the tangent to the vertex. So y minus k is defined as the tangent to the vertex. So for this case, y minus k square, that's the axis of the parabola, and it is equal to plus minus length of latus rectum, and x minus h this time is the equation of the tangent to the vertex. So we interpret the standard equation of parabola as axis square equals latus rectum times the tangent equation of the tangent to the vertex. So since the general equation of a parabola is either A or C is 0, so when C is 0, the general equation of the parabola would be ax squared plus dx plus ey plus f equals 0, and this is either open upward or open downward. Specifically, this is open upward if this is open upward if the coefficient of y is negative in this general form, so that when we transform it to the right, it becomes positive. And of course, the coefficient of x squared is imagined to be always positive. But you may not consider that. You just transform the general form to one of these standard forms. Anyway, only one square term exists, and it's easy to complete the square for that term when only one second degree term exists. What we are sure of in this situation here, this parabola is either open upward or open downward. And the other equation is cy squared plus dx plus ey plus f equals 0, which is either open to the left or open to the right. So these equations can be reduced further too after we divide everything by either a or c to make sure. So if you divide this equation by a, then it reduces to, we replace capital D over A by small d, E over A, capital A by small e, then F over A by small f. So it is x squared plus dx plus small e times y plus small f equals 0. This is open upward if the value of e is negative in this form, so that when we transpose ey to the right, if e is negative, it becomes positive. So definitely it is open upward. The length of the latus rectum, remember, is the absolute value of the coefficient of the term, first degree term, opposite to the squared term. So if it is x that is squared, the coefficient of y, absolute value of the coefficient of y is the length of the latus rectum, just like this. It is x that is squared here, so we have 4p times y. So the coefficient of y, which is the first degree term opposite to the squared term, is the length of the latus rectum. So to make sure, because latus rectum is always positive, we have to obtain the absolute value. So absolute value of E is the length of latus rectum. Similarly, if we have this equation that is either open to the left or to the right, dividing everything by c, this reduces to small y squared plus small d times x plus small e times y plus f equals 0. This is open rightward if d this time is negative. So the coefficient of x is negative because this time it is y that is squared. So I hope that you can recall that. Then other properties of parabola, we have here the squared property of a parabola. So latus rectum is absolute value of d for this case. So we have the squared property of parabola. So we will denote the elements as the base b, the height as h, and we have another base x and altitude y. So we have from the general or standard equation of parabola x squared equals latus rectum times y, if we equate latus rectum or reciprocal of latus rectum 1 over latus rectum is y over x squared. And it should also be h over b squared. So that is vertical as to the square of horizontal equals another vertical element of the parabola as to the square of horizontal. So that is the squared property of parabola. Also, or in other words, y over x squared equals h over b squared. We can also use half of x and half of b. So in other words, we can also have y over x over 2 quantity square equals h over b over 2 quantity square. So that's the other way around. So another property of parabola, this is about its geometric property. So first is that the tangents drawn at any 2 points on the parabola always meet halfway between the points of tangency both horizontally and vertically. And the second property is that the area bounded by these tangents and the parabola is always 1/2 the area between the parabola and its chord. So that's the other property. So if this is the parabola, and that's one point on the parabola, another point on the parabola, and these are the tangents, then the tangents meet halfway, both vertically and horizontally. So that is, if that's the point directly above the intersection of the tangents, then it should be the average of the x coordinates of these points of tangency. Same is true with that. This is the midpoint of the line segment joining these points. This is a chord, so, and this should be directly above this point here and this point here, and from as stated above here, this vertical distance should also be equal to that vertical distance as well as that horizontal distance and that horizontal distance there. So it should be L over 2, and that should also be L over 2. That should be H. This should also be H. And I hope that you can remember that property in parabolas, passing side distance, vertical curve, right? So that's the second property. You can assume that the parabola is, let us say, y equals x squared, so that it's easy. The vertex is at the origin. You can have this point, x is -1, so -1 squared, so -1 comma 1. And this point here is at x is 2, so 2, so 2 squared. This is at 2 comma 4. So that you can verify these two statements here about properties of parabolas. I already did this for the parabola y equals x squared and the points -1 comma 1 and 2 comma 4, and it's really true. For the area, I apply integral calculus. So the area bounded by the tangents and this parabola, this area here, is indeed 1/2 the area bounded by the chord and this parabola. So for example, the tangents drawn to points on the parabola y equals kx squared, where the abscissas are x equals -1 and x equals 2, meet at what point? So first, because x is -1, y is k times -1 squared, so that would be at -1 comma k. When x is 2, y is k times 2 squared, so 4k. This is at 2 comma 4k. So the derivative of y with respect to x is 2kx. I'll just use calculus in defining the slope of the tangent. So for this tangent line here, x is -1, so the slope is 2k times -1, so it is -2k. Then applying point slope form, y minus k equals slope -2k times x minus x1. So x minus -1. So y minus k, so m2 by the way is 2k times 2, so 4k. Equation of the first tangent, which is this. By the way, this is the midpoint of the line segment joining these 2 points. Midpoint formula is average of the x coordinates. -1 plus 2 is 1 divided by 2, so 1/2. Then k plus 4k, 5k divided by 2, so 5k over 2. So that's at 1/2 comma 5k over 2. So the first tangent is y minus y1, y minus k equals slope -2k times x minus -1. So y minus k equals -2k times x minus -1. Simplifying, the equation of this tangent here is y equals -2kx minus 2k plus k is minus k. So y equals -2kx minus k. For the second tangent, the slope is 4k. Y minus 4k equals 4k times quantity x minus 2. So y equals 4kx minus 8k plus 4k. So it is y equals 4kx minus 4k. Equating y's to find this point of intersection. So -2kx minus k equals 4kx minus 4k. So that would be -k plus 4k. 3k equals 6kx. So dividing everything by 6k, we can now solve for x, and x is 1/2. So notice that the point of intersection of the tangents really has the same x coordinate as this midpoint of this line segment. So really the tangents meet halfway, both horizontally. So x is 1/2. So that distance is 1/2 minus -1, so 1.5, and 2 minus 1/2 is also 1.5. So this is really the midpoint. Then for the coordinates of this point, this is this point 1/2. Then the value of y, we substitute it into this equation here. Y is -2k times 1/2 minus k, so it is -2k. Therefore, this point here is at 1/2 comma -2k. So the vertical by the way, let's find this point here. All you have to do is substitute x is 1/2. So y is k times 1/2 quantity square. So y is k over 4. So this is 1/2 comma k over 4. So the distance vertically, so the 3 points have the same x coordinate 1/2. That's why they lie on the same vertical line. For the vertical distance, 5k minus k over 4, that's 2.25k. K over 4 minus -2k, that's also 2.25k. So it's indeed that this vertical distance is equal to that vertical distance there. And my recommendation is you just use y equals kx squared. K is assume 1, so that this is at -1 comma 1, and this is at 2 comma 4, and you can evaluate the area here and this area here. Show that this area by integration is 1/2 the area bounded by the chord and this parabola. So that's it for this part. So now proceed to the physical properties of parabolas. So just like the headlight reflector of your car or flashlights. So we have here the reflector and the bulb at the focus. So that's the focus, and this is the light ray. As it hits the inner surface of this parabolic surface, it will bounces forward as shown. That is, the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. So any point, we have the light ray here, it will bounce forward as shown. So in general, this angle of incidence equals angle of reflection. So that's the tangent line, for example, and that's the angle of reflection. This is the angle of incidence. So that's true for that parabola. The next one, so headlights and flashlights. The next one is we have parabolic antenna. So this is the receiver, and we have sun rays. Signals are being transported by means of rays, and these rays, as it hits the inner surface of this parabolic antenna, will bounce towards the receiver. So if the signal is bad, then we have bad reception also. If it is good, then good reception also. So it is opposite to this principle here, but the same. It's the same. So this time the signals are being transported through light or sun rays. Then as they hit the parabolic antenna, they bounce towards the receiver. Here we have the source, the bulb, and the light rays hit the inner surface of the parabolic surface, then they bounce forwards as shown. So since the area of a parabola is 2/3 base times height, then the area of the parabola bounded by its latus rectum, the parabola and its latus rectum, the latus rectum is, the length is LR, and the distance from the vertex to the focus is P, and P is 1/4 of the length of the latus rectum. Therefore, the area is 2/3 of LR times LR over 4, and that is LR squared over 6. So substitute the area of parabola, 2/3 of base. This is the base, which is the length of the latus rectum. The height would be P, and P is 1/4 of the length of latus rectum. Simplifying, the area of parabola, the area of the region bounded by the parabola and its latus rectum is 1/6 of the length of the latus rectum square. So remember from the reduced standard equations of parabolas, from the general equation rather, that the absolute value of the coefficient of the first degree term opposite to the squared term is the length of the latus rectum. So from there you can generalize the area of the region bounded by the parabola and its latus rectum. So it may be absolute value of d square, or is simply d square over 6, or e square over 6. Remember that. So that's it for this video. I hope that you can recall the important properties. You can recall the general equation of a circle and its reduced equation. You can find the center, the radius, and other elements of a circle, and you can identify a parabola based from the general equation. And the most important thing here is you can sketch graphs of circles and parabolas. If you can conveniently sketch the graphs of circles and parabolas, then I think you will have no problems about circles and parabolas.